We're going to try. Are you following yet?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, that. Hang on, what's this one?
That's not it.
Oh, that's filters. You don't need a filter.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, Thomas. I mean, we could just sit next to each other. This carries on. Hold on, what? Tom Fletcher has joined.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's me. Go on then.
No, I just saw that on yours.
Oh.
Oh dear. See, now it won't let me press that button again. Oh jeez.
Hang on a second.
Oh
guys.
jeez Louise, guys.
Hang on just a second.
Lots of people have sent a request to be in the live video, just not Thomas, it would seem. Right. And this button is not working at all.
I'm watching. Okay.
Showing you the rest of the house though. Which thankfully is a little bit clean, but never mind.
Definitely not clean.
Oh no, how do I change that now?
There, honey. Have you never used Instagram before?
I would like to say that it's Tom this right now. Right, hold on. Go
I
live
sent a
with.
request.
There. Hold on. Waiting for you.
Now I'm just looking at your rest of the house.
Oh, you're a bit delayed. Hold on.
Oh wow.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's didn't shut the door.
That was painful. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Oh gosh.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. How are you? Hi, Thomas.
How are you, honey? You right?
Yeah, just
What have you been
about.
up to, honey?
Well, I'm just in the other room trying to sort out domestic, but it's
Oh, really? What's he up to?
Oh gosh, he's just,
With that dreamy husband of yours.
He wasn't where he said he would be at the right time, so.
You know what I was doing? I was trying to find a sock because my iPhone is actually balanced on a sock right now.
Yeah, like the story. Hi everyone. So we should say that our book is out today. So we have a new book out. It's called The Evolution. It is part 2 of our trilogy, The Eve of Man trilogy. Oh my gosh, you've got a copy too. Did they send you one?
They sent me loads.
Is it signed?
I just found him in this room over there.
Called my office.
This one's signed. It's signed.
Oh my gosh, who signed that? But just say, obviously, when your book is published, it's usually a really joyous time, and you go off on book tour, and you know you meet loads of readers, and it's lovely and amazing. But this time around, things were a little bit different. So we thought we would come on here and do a Q&A for you, so we can kind of be with you, even though we're not.
Yes. Thanks, Waterstones, for hosting this. Sorry, we messed that up a bit. So, shall we start with what this book is about? Hopefully, some of you watching will have read the first one, Eve of Man. So, Eve of Man, the trilogy is set in the future. 50 years have gone by and no girls have been born. And Eve is the first girl born in 50 years. So she instantly becomes... I know, can you believe it, honey? She instantly becomes, she's seen as like the savior of the human race. You know, she is this glimmer of hope of a future that hasn't been there for 50 years. And in the first book, we pick up on her story. She's 15, 16. It's like a coming of age type story. And she's discovering that she's led this completely controlled, isolated life. And it's controlled by an organization called the EPO, which is the Extinction Prevention Organization. It's, I guess I can say spoilers, right, on here, because we're talking about
No.
two. I can't. Okay, that makes it a lot easier. Thanks. So in this book, the first book is about her discovering the kind of the truth about the world with which she's been presented for her whole life by the EPO. The second book is about her realizing the power that she potentially has, and if she is strong enough to use that power to lead a group of rebels to fight back against the EPO. In a nutshell. And that is all kind of, and at the heart of all that is a love story between Eve and a guy called Bram. And because, you know, when we were writing this, we wanted, you know, our kind of thought was, you know, a world without love is not a world worth saving, and she needs to have a world that is worth saving. So she falls in love, and there's this whole romance which we write together, don't we, honey?
We do. So Kerry Polton has asked, how excited were you writing this book?
Do you want to take that?
I think second books or any book that's a follow-up to a book that you already know the characters of, it is exciting because you get to pick up, you get to see them again. I know that we kind of knew that. Where I've done it before, I did it not knowing that I'd be picking those characters up again. I always think that at the end of a book is never the end. I think the characters always go on and live another life or another, they carry on living. Whereas the difference with this one and book 3 is that we know that we're doing a trilogy. We know that we're going to continue seeing those characters and those stories. Yes, I was excited. We did a lot of planning this time, didn't we, Thomas?
Yeah, I think that's the thing we found with having 2 authors, is it requires more planning. But keeping track, especially a novel, this kind of size and a trilogy, it requires us both to be on the same page the whole way through and know what it is we are trying to say throughout the book. So yeah, it's a lot more planning than we would normally do. Well, I do quite a bit of planning for my books anyway. G likes to wing it a little bit, so.
I always say that you write books like you write music, like you plan every single beat. Whereas I like to have my overall concept, know my first third, and know where I want to end up, and then so I write that first third, and then I let the characters fly and find their way. But writing together has taught me that I can work in a different way and that it's fun. So I have adapted, I guess. But every book I think you write, do you find this? Every book you write, find a new way of writing it, or are you always the same?
Yeah, I feel like I've got a way now. I feel like now, only just now though.
Nice.
Yeah. Right, I've got a question.
Okay.
This is from Star Read Books. What were the positives of working together?
You only have to write half a book.
That is true. Although for me, because my normal books, not normal books, but the books that I write most of are, apart from the picture books, the novels that I write are about 45,000 words, which is roughly about half of Even Man. So it's just about the same for me. It's half it makes your life easier.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. I'm just here to make your life easier, Annie.
Thanks. And it's great for childcare because there's always someone writing and someone to have the kids, so that's good.
That is true. I've got another one that's a good one that's kind of related to that, is from Sophie Ann Rose. What made you want to write the book together, and where did we get the idea for the books from?
So I went and met a friend who had just had a baby, and she was telling me how everyone in her NCT group, they'd all had boys, and I just thought it was amazing that they'd all had boys. So I went home. Me and Tom had a chat about the fact that it was all boys. We just started this chat, didn't we? This hypothetical chat of like, that's interesting. How often does that happen? Is there a whole day where only boys or only girls are born? What would happen if that went on for a while? At what point would it become a pandemic? And then we just started talking about this idea, and we wrote it into our phone notes actually originally, and I think you said to me, you should write that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've got my own writing schedule. I've got kids, blah, 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 blah. And then I think a couple of years passed and we started talking about it to different friends. We were kind of like, oh, yeah, we've had this idea. And they were like, you need to write it. Or they'd come and see us a year later and be like, have you written that book? And we'd be like, no. So we just decided to actually get cracking. Didn't we, Thomas?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's one of those, because it was an idea that came about from a discussion between us both, and it didn't fall into either of our current books. It wasn't like the books that you write, and it wasn't like the books that I write. It just felt like, well, maybe this would be a fun thing for us both to do together.
What I would say is, it was literally before Buddy was born, so it was over 4 years ago now, 4.5 years ago. We had submitted to our publishers, so we were both with Penguin anyway at the time, but we'd submitted a synopsis for 3 different books, written the prologue, and just a general jotting down of ideas. And I've just realised that actually what we sent for those 3 books, only the first book is the same, and the ending of the first book is completely different, and the other 2 books are now completely different.
Yeah. Although the actual ending, we do know how it's all going to end, and I think that's been consistent the whole way through.
Yes, that's true.
we've not. So whether or not, it'd be interesting to see when we actually come to write the end of book 3, whether we
no.
stick to that. Yeah. That'll be interesting. Right, should we take a question from someone?
Yeah.
Give some questions. Go on, honey, you pick one. Hi, Michelle. When is the third book out? We haven't written it yet. The second one just came out today.
Can I just say, the same friend I was talking about with the NCT group, I was out with her 2-week-old baby, and literally someone was saying to her, so when are you gonna have another one? I was like, this one is fresh. It reminds me of this. This one is fresh. Enjoy this one. Read it 5 times if you have to. Laura Page asked, is there anyone who influenced the characters? Thomas.
I think they are like a weird smush of people we know, and you know what I mean. Like, you kind of take stuff from your life and yourself, and it's like all characters. I don't know if it's even possible for you to create someone truly original, because you are so influenced by everyone you've ever experienced in your life. Even if you've just bumped into someone in the street for 5 minutes or whatever, that on some level, when you are creating a character, you'll be thinking of what their goal is and what they need to achieve, and it will remind you of yourself or someone that you know, and you can't help but put them into it.
Although is that so yeah, totally. And then we have a board with people, the different characters on it. Obviously, I think when you're writing a book on your own, you can kind of in your head have what people look like anyway, but especially when you're writing with another person, you need to have visual references so that when you're talking about a certain person, you're both referring to the same visual reference. So what we did do, and that we've done for each book, is that we have this kind of these boards that we stick photos on, and we had actually used one character from a program that we used to watch. Remember, when my sister and brother-in-law, they came over and they were like, why is that person? Why
yeah.
You're like, oh wow. He was a
visually. So but once we've written the book, once we know who the characters are, looks wise, it's really difficult, staying consistent with all of that stuff. Like hair color, the little things, hair color, eye color, and all that.
Yeah.
So we have a big mood board of what all the characters look like.
Yeah. Stevie Bo Peep has asked, how do you write together? What's the process?
It's kind of like this, but without Instagram in the middle. I sit in one room. No, we've already done the planning. We do a lot of planning. And then we have like a roadmap of the book, and then we will go and write. So I write Bram, and G writes Eve mostly, but we plan them both together, and then we will go away and write whoever's chapter is. So if it's chapter 1 and it's Eve, say, G will go and write Eve, write that chapter, then I'll read it, then we'll discuss it. If there's any changes that we feel need to be made, we'll make it. When we're happy, we'll discuss the next chapter, and I'll go away and write it, and we just kind of work our way through the book like that, essentially.
And it made sense. And it made sense to have both of us writing 2 different characters, rather than us both working on the same, being a narrator, creating a narrative and doing it like in third person, and us both trying to seamlessly be one voice. It made sense if you've got 2 authors to use those 2 voices.
Although, we haven't discussed if we haven't talked about what we're saying, because in this book, Are we allowed to say it? I guess we can now, right? It's not just...
Yes, so there is a third character.
So in Eve of Man, in book 1, it's just Eve and Bram the whole way through. Whereas in this book, the story is told right from the beginning from 3 characters. So you get Eve, Bram, and Michael, who we meet in book 1, but not a lot. You don't see him a lot, but he was there. And there's kind of so there's a third player in this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard talking about it without giving away spoilers of what happens. But that was really good fun, because you suddenly have, what's difficult about writing in first person is that you can only write about what that character knows. So obviously in this book we had, in Eve of Man, we had, the kind of having Eve and Bram made it easier, because Eve can only write about the world that she knew in book 1. But Bram could tell us about the world outside of that. And likewise, in this book, we kind of have the same situation where we needed to have someone else with another point of view to give us certain bits of information. And that person turned out was Michael. And he was really fun to write a new character. And kind of thrusting him into their world.
And that's what we mean, though, when we say how, you know, when we first submitted our plans and what we thought book 2 and 3 were going to be, we did not know that we were going to have Michael in this role. We were going to be centered on him so much. Otherwise, absolutely, when writing Eve of Man, we would have had certain things in mind. Like already, we were like, okay, we can't write that because he's already actually locked into that. And, you know, so many things are actually...
Well, it was one of those... Yeah, it was one of those discussions where we thought we were going to write a new character for the role of Michael, and then when we were doing our going back and doing our own research and looking back through the book, it was like, well, what if it's Michael? And then the only other
person who's had that kind of physical connection with her.
Yeah, so it's really interesting how those ideas kind of, even though you have like the way you think the book's going to go, it does kind of take on a bit of a life of its own when you're writing.
Fiona Hard has asked, how much did the plot change whilst you were writing it compared to your original plan? I guess I've said that. We changed 2 whole books. But once we planned this book, once we planned The Evolution, how much do you reckon it strayed from that?
I reckon we were quite... we
had a really detailed plan this time around.
Yeah, so we had a more detailed plan, I'd say, with this. We literally had a chapter by chapter breakdown, you know, of each, you know, of the whole book. So it's, yeah, I don't think we strayed. You know, you run into little kind of, it's a bit like a maze. You run into a few dead ends every now and then, and you have to write your way out of them, which is, you know, fun and challenging. But that's part of the joys of writing a book. But you know, so things change, you know, because of out of necessity. But other than that, I think we're pretty close to what we planned.
I guess there's also that thing. So if
hang on, someone just said, should you read book 1 or go straight to book 2? You should definitely read book 1 first.
I would
highly recommend that.
We do a nice lot of recapping for anyone who has read it and is worried they're going to have forgotten bits. There's a good amount of recapping, I would say, for all 3 different characters, kind of filling you in. But there's nothing quite like actually reading it and getting to know those characters and understanding it a bit more.
Yeah, there's a little bit like a previously on kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you haven't read book 1, then you'll get pretty lost.
Yeah. Well, I did find interesting about the planning and so we did a lot of planning this time around, more so I think than the first book. And we were so detailed. By the time we got to the last few chapters of, you know, planning, we were so detailed in our planning. We had what people were saying, where they were, like there was so much detail in what they were, everything. And then when we went back to write the first chapter, we realised we had 3 lines. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
I thought we were much more detailed in this planning.
Yeah.
Right, you got it.
Well, you want me to find a question?
Yeah, me too.
So I can find one. Does that mean there's a lot? Go on, you choose one.
Ruby Bonifies Photography. How do you agree on the particular direction of the story?
Oh, apparently there's an echo when I speak. Is my volume too loud? Is that better? Sorry. What did you say? What was the question?
How do you agree on the particular direction of the story?
We just chat it out, do we?
Yeah.
Really? Just lots of discussions. We just sit and talk. You have those kind of what if this happened, and then a lot of conversations.
Yeah, I would say because we did so much planning this time out, I don't think there were any we didn't squabble at all over it.
No.
It's more like knowing your plan and then fixing the pieces of the puzzle together. So you know when you get something right, so oh yeah, and then this, and then it's kind of like, all right, we know we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, Lego are watching. Hello, Lego.
Hi, Lego.
Saving
our lockdown.
Who decides who writes each character? Wow.
Well, we pretty much, yeah. I mean, we plan. It's not like we don't have input into each character. Like, we plan the whole books together and what they're going to do. But it just felt like, you know, we're in a unique situation where we have two authors, three characters now, but, you know, two or three main characters. We should use that to help kind of define the voices of the characters. So G takes Eve, and I write Bram and Michael. Yeah.
There it is. Kerry Metcalf asked, do you think you'll write another book together?
Well, after the third one of this?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
Maybe not a trilogy.
Not a trilogy. I think it's going to be that thing. We'll carry on working together in some capacity, whether it's books.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of led by the idea. Like, we didn't set out to be like, we need to write a book with each other because we're both authors. It just, we had an idea that kind of inspired us to do it. So I think if there's the right idea that we get excited by, then yeah, definitely.
I think so. Have you got any questions, Thomas? Ooh, Sky So Lovely asks, where do the names Eve and Bram come from?
Good question. I mean, it's one of the hardest things is naming your characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eve was Eve right from the beginning, though, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She's the first girl born in 50 years. It was just kind of, her name was just Eve. It's just kind of what we referred to her as.
Yeah.
And then Bram?
Well, we liked the idea of him being like the apple in the
He was kind of like the forbidden. I mean, we didn't want to get into any, like, it was quite tricky, like, staying away from any, like, controversial, you know, anything that was too deep and or like religion. We wanted it to be pure fiction, but there was, yeah, we kind of liked the idea of him being this kind of forbidden fruit for her. You know, she wasn't allowed to fall in love with him. So we were thinking, well, what are names of? It can't be called Apple. Well, he could, if Gwyneth Paltrow was his mum.
There you go.
Did I get that right? They got called Apple. Yeah. And so we were looking at just names of apples, and then decided Bram.
There you go.
Because it was kind of obscure enough that people probably wouldn't pick up on it, and it'd be a thing. Obviously, now I've said it, so everyone knows. But have you already decided how the trilogy will end? Yes.
Who asked the question?
Oh, sorry. Someone asked that question. It was from... oh. No. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Hang on. Where were you? I saw you. Oh, no. You've gone. Whoever asked that question, sorry. Yes, we do. We know how it's going to end.
Good.
Right, G.
Yeah.
It's from Natalie Martins, 1974.
Okay.
Would you like to write a children's book like Tom?
Yes, I would. I'd say it's something that I think about because obviously we read to our kids every night, multiple books and every day, and you can see how it inspires them and how it engages them. And books are a huge part of who we are. Plus, it would be really nice just to write a book that my kids can read, rather than just be this thing that they know they're mine, but they can't actually read. So yes. I think it's all about the right thing, though. You know what I mean? Like having the right reason to do it, having an idea that kind of makes me go, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to. But I think it's a case of doing the right thing, not just doing it because... you know, I've got a publisher. Create something with meaning, you know?
Josh Boffin asked, how long did it take to write The Eve Illusion?
Ooh, so we started when Max was first born and he is now 20 months. So I think it took about a year.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Well, I always kind of, when people ask that, I always think my kind of measurement is like the first draft, because I always feel like that is the book written then, and then the rest is just, you know, edits and all that. But you know, normally it's like a year process. By the time you start writing a book, I always find it's a year process.
Well, and we had an interesting thing as well during this time. So we had, we both had other projects we needed to be writing. We had Max, so it was kind of that thing we actually had to fit, that we had blocks of time on it rather than like, we had to go back to the edit had to wait for 2 months. So, you know, it's kind of like we had those chunks rather than it being a continuous time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like now with book 3, you're writing another book at the moment, I'm writing another book. We've got the kids, the band, you know, and everything else that's, you know, happy mum, happy baby. There's a lot going on so it's not just, even though like a long time goes by, we're not solidly working on one thing in that time. It just takes, you know, life gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
If the who says this? Alicia McGuire. If these books are made into a film, who would play Even Bram? Or who would you like to play Even Bram? Who do you imagine?
I think Millie would be a great. Is it Millie Bobby Brown?
Oh yeah, her and Tom Holland would be a good Bram.
Yeah.
Them two would be good. Let's make that happen.
Oh, I always think it's weird though, those questions, because they are certain ages, the characters. By the time anything actually moved along, these people would be in their life.
You know what's weird about that though? Is we haven't referenced them. They're not on our visual reference board.
No, they're not actually, no. We have, who do we have? We have a very young Matt Damon.
We do. We've got Matt Damon in Saving Private Ryan, I think, as one of them on our visual reference board.
And a singer called Ray Morris, who has really curly, wild hair. Who knows?
Ricky Lee says, do you have audiobooks? Yes, there are audio and ebooks for this. You can get this. You don't have to go out and get physical copies. You can order the audio and ebooks. Obviously, you can order them online as well, get them delivered. So you don't have to go out right now. There are plenty of places like Waterstones here doing deliveries for all your book needs. Everyone needs books right now.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it, of finding things that, having that little bit of normality or that little bit of escapism right now is, you know, a good thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people ask me if we'd like to see the books turned into films. Yaha.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Of all of the books that I've written, I feel like this trilogy would be the one that lends itself the most to being made into a series or a film. There've been a few discussions. It's just one of those things that like time goes by really fast, and there's not enough time in the world to focus on everything at once. So when we're focused on it a bit more, and maybe now that book 2's out, we can focus on it a bit and see. But I would love to see this turned into a film or a TV series. That'd be really cool.
Oh, Katrina McKay, I'm going to just go for one that was sent in earlier. Do you write chronologically or do you write different scenes and then stitch them all together? Which is a really interesting question, because I know authors who get so excited about writing a certain bit, they just need to jump in and write that then and there because they feel excited about it, they feel energized, they just go with it. But we don't do that.
But
in this book, these books.
Yeah, but having said it, we don't write we write chronologically, but when we plan, we'll get excited about a certain bit, and sometimes you'll get to a chapter that's like, you know, a third of the way through the book or 2/3 of the way through the book, and you essentially have written that chapter because you've got so excited by it in the plan that you've written 3,000 words just on your plan, whereas another chapter might only be, you know, a couple of paragraphs just saying what happens in that chapter. So then when you come to actually write the book, you realize, oh, actually I've written that whole scene and that whole paragraph. So we do write chronologically, but by planning the way that we do, sometimes you get big moments late in the book that you've already done a lot of work on already, which is really nice when you get to those moments. You're like, oh, past me did the work for me. Thanks, me in the past.
Um, we're going to say Claire or Cess Claire. Do you find it difficult getting back to writing your books? Getting back to writing your books when you're dipping in and out of different projects?
I actually was one of the things I like the most about the way that I work on multiple things is having a lot of projects on, because you can get a bit, like when you've been in the studio for a couple of weeks working on songs, sometimes it's really refreshing coming back and starting working on a book or starting the edit on a book. And it's the change going from one project to the other that makes each project seem fresh when you pick it back up again.
Yeah.
Because it can get really consuming, especially books like these. Like, it can get really consuming after a while, and it's nice, rather than stepping out of it and just sitting on the sofa watching TV, stepping out of it to go and work with your band for a week, and then coming back to the book is really nice.
It gets you excited about it again, like excited about being back with those characters or telling the next part of the story.
Having said that, sometimes it depends what stage in the process you're at, because having a lot of the edit is really difficult. I find the first edit of a book, if you're having to go from one first edit into another first edit, you feel a little bit demoralized and drained. That can be a bit challenging.
I
Which
always
has
get
happened
into when you first
times.
get in it. So for anyone who doesn't know, we send in the first draft, and then our editor will look at it, or editors. We've got a team on this one because we both come from different sort of departments within Penguin. They have formed a new team for the trilogy, and so they will collectively send over their edits. And then and for any book, it doesn't matter what book it is, at that point, actually always fiction, non-fiction, I don't get this, but with fiction, it can feel like there's so much to do to get the book right. Like, the notes can just feel so overwhelming, but actually when you start breaking them down, you realize I've just got to change a couple of sentences, or actually this, or you just kind of go, well, yeah, like it's having that outside person looking at it and kind of just unlocking it slightly in a way that you didn't realize it needed to be unlocked. But I think generally it always feels a lot more overwhelming than it actually is. Tom's reading. He's gone.
I am, yeah.
All right, go.
No, just reading people's comments.
There was one that said, I know, like your
Page's wish. Oh, I missed it. Page's wish and flick, I think. Advice for aspiring authors.
Just get writing. Don't think about it. Don't overcomplicate it. I think it's one of those things that you can think about doing forever, but writing is one of those things that nothing can happen until you actually sit down and write. You can have dreams of becoming a writer, but actually never having sat down and actually applied yourself and written anything more than an essay at school or college or whatever. But actually, you've got to sit down and get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's easier than you think. Don't, like, I think my advice is don't just start writing. Because I used to say all the time that I wanted to write a book, and then I'd sit down in my downtime.
Yeah, we're conflicting advice. My thing is just right. Like, it doesn't like.
No, like you have. No, I get that.
Using the skills.
No, I do. I agree with just right, but I feel like find your idea that you're excited about first. Like, you have to be. You're going to live with this idea for a long time, and you're going to have to really work at it. So make sure it's the idea is the idea that you really want to write, and then plan out your book. Just even if it's just, start with a little plan, beginning, middle, end, or a little story arc, and then just put your characters in. Just keep building and building and building. The more you do that first at the beginning, the easier it's going to be, and the less chance there is of you becoming demoralized in the writing process, I would say. Because there's nothing more.
10,000 words in and kind of going. Although I do think there is an element of that being that first 10 to 20,000 words is the hardest, and actually it's when you kind of get past that, you're kind of like, I know my characters now and I can fly. I think especially beyond the first book, when it gets to the second book, you're like, the first book was a fluke, and the second book, people, I don't know how I did that, because now there's expectation. People are thinking, like, expecting things of me, and I think there's always so much pressure that you can put on yourself, but it's about kind of getting rid of that and kind of, I don't know, for me, speaking from the heart a lot when I sort of write. And yeah, just kind of, I don't know.
Only Saz, I think it was, says, do you ever get writer's block?
No. Do you?
No, I don't think I get writer's block. Maybe more music. Sometimes with music you can get it. Not with books though. I think you can get stuck. It can be a bit like a riddle that you get stuck with. And you're like, I don't know how to solve this bit of the story. And normally that comes from not planning. Or for me, for not planning. And the only way to solve that a lot of the time, why it's so difficult, is because you know it means going back and changing stuff that you're in love with, that you've already written. So that can be pretty difficult and demoralising. But I don't think I've ever had writer's block on a book.
Do you find it hard letting go of stuff?
I used to find it hard letting go of stuff. I'm a bit less kind of precious about my own ideas now. So I know it's for the greater good. So even, you know, you're letting something go that you really love, but it will make the book better. So it's difficult, but I get over that a bit more easy. I think I'm less attached now.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Someone asked, although I have now lost it. Someone asked, oh, here we go. Irene Callett asked, have you ever cried while writing?
Yeah. I've cried. I think I've cried at every book I've written multiple times. Seriously, well, this one I cried when I did the Christmas Horse and the Winter Witch. I cried writing. I cried when I came up with. I think I cried when I wrote notes down for it, and then I cried when I wrote the plan for the book, and then I sobbed when I wrote the book. You've got to like put your emotions into that. It's really, I feel like if you can make yourself cry at your own, you know, your own idea, your own story, because you've got to be so like, you've got to feel the characters that much. You know, if you can't make yourself cry with the idea, then you're not going to make anyone else cry, I think. And I cried rereading Eve of Man, because sometimes with me I cry not just the emotional beats where you should cry, where you want people to cry. You'll cry just because of like something works really well. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, it's so like everything kind of falls into place and it's really satisfying and it gives you that feeling of like just an overwhelming. I'm a bit of a crier. I cry quite a lot.
Well, you're actually one of the, so when because you've not got time to read my books now, but that's fine. But in the olden days, when I used to hand you a book, you used to do my thing of, I know it like Tom would bawl his eyes out, essentially. And I'd be like, okay, people will get emotionally invested in this then.
Yeah. People like me.
People like you. Someone did ask. Oh, I lost the book, but someone did ask if there is a book that is there a book that you wish you'd have written? I can't find the person who wrote it. I will ask that question. Mine. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes for me. Talk about crying at a book. Oh my days. I cried so much in that book. I can cry just thinking about it.
What book do I wish I'd written? I mean, my answers are always the same.
What?
For these questions. Well, it's always Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I've got no better answer for it because it's the truth. Actually, I love. No, do not. Yeah, Harry Potter. Sorry, guys.
Just the whole of them. All of them.
They're not all of them. The first one, the Philosopher's Stone. It's the best.
That would inspire you to write the rest.
Well, because no, I just like the setup of it. It's like Harry discovering that he's got magical powers and he's going off to Hogwarts, and you know, like that's amazing. That bit. It's like when it's in the it's why the origin stories of superheroes are so good, even though we've heard most of them a million times now. But they're amazing because you're seeing people who don't know how to use powers discover that like how to use them. It's so satisfying. So I love that in Harry Potter.
I've got to say as well, a lot of people have asked if we're in the same house. Yes, we are.
Yeah, she's over there in her office. I'm in the kitchen. I've got the food. I can be here all night, guys.
Oh dear. Emily Jane. Now you
So
know.
Sharon Mullen, 85. How do you find time to write with 3 kids? This is our writing time now. So as soon as we get off here, I'm going to do an hour's writing.
And then we'll come together for some wine.
Probably, yeah. Depending on,
yeah.
yeah. Although sometimes you get carried away. Sometimes
Yeah.
you get carried away. You'll start the, like, you know, the kids go to bed. And if you're on a roll, you don't want to stop. 'Cause it's hard. It's really hard limiting yourself. Because most of our work is done in the evenings. But particularly now we're in lockdown. Because we just don't get any work done in the day.
I feel like I've become a lot more sensible. Whereas, especially, I can't even remember what book it was. I think it was Some Kind of Wonderful. I would literally be writing, writing until like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then be up at 5 with the kids. So you kind of run away with yourself, and actually, and to be honest, I did not. I said this a lot of the time. I did not feel tired at all doing that, like continuously having little sleep. I did not feel tired. It's only actually when we went on holiday and got sleep that I came back after having like 8-9 hours sleep a night, that I was like, no, I can't go back to that. So that's pulled me back now, and actually I'm a bit more controlled in what in my work. I was saying, in what hours I put in, knowing that I can't be a good mum or person or human or creative person if I'm knackered, if that makes sense. Oh dear. SJ Conroy 611. Did you learn anything new about each other when you were writing? We've known each other now for a long time, Thomas.
We have, yeah. Did we learn anything new about each other? I think we learned in book 1. I think I was a little bit more used to people like having a collaborator than you were.
Well, you say that. I think I am also, though, a bit like from acting. You're used to coming up with something and something, and someone going, "Oh, well, have you tried this?" and kind of throwing the stuff away. And I'd written, by the time we wrote Even Man, I'd written 6 books, maybe. So you'd think that, I think it's coming from you actually sometimes. You've kind of been like, I can remember this one time when I was having a bit of a meltdown about the pressures of we only had 2 kids at the time. And me just being a bit like, it's just a bit. And you just say, well, let's not do it then. And they'd be like, I want to do it.
I remember that. I remember just being like, it's easy. I know the solution. We're just not going to write the book. Let's just stop now. It's too late now, Hannah. We've got 2 books in. We've got to finish it.
Oh dear. Okay, Joanna CB asks, if you had to change anything for the first book, what would it be?
Ooh. Well, there were a few little. I can't really think off the top of my head what they were, but there were a few. Writing a trilogy, unless you're going to write the whole trilogy before they're published, there's always going to be things where you get to and you're like, if only I'd made it this person instead of this person do that, or and there's that probably happens 100 times a day when you're writing. You're like, if only I'd said this in the first book, or we can use this guy. Oh no, we killed him off in the first book. There's a lot of that goes on in the planning process. So there's probably a few moments where we're like, if only that.
There was nothing major, was there? There was just those little things that you're like,
no. But it's probably that'll probably happen more now in book 3, because we're really going to be tying up all the loose ends by the time we get to the end of book 3, and needing to know, there'll probably be more moments like that, I imagine now. I'm excited about book 3 though, because we kind of know that's taken on a new life of its own. When you get to the end of book 2, you will realise why. That was always going to happen. What happens at the end of book 2 was always going to happen, but it's given us ideas of how we're going to write book 3, which is really exciting. Have we written the 3rd book yet? No, we haven't written the 3rd book yet. The only thing we've written from the 3rd book is the very last line of the 3rd book. So it's a start. We started with the end.
It's the start of the word count, honey.
Huh?
It's the start of the word count.
Yep.
When will we start book 3? Kira P26 asks.
That's a good question. I've got to finish an edit.
September?
Yeah, we're working on another book. We're working on another project together at the moment.
Yep.
You're writing a book on your own. I'm editing a book on my own. I'm finishing an album with the band. There's a lot going on at the moment. So once the current projects are done, then we start that one. It's just a list. It's just a long list of like rotating projects.
What's nice though when it comes to books is that because we are now on the same with the same publishers, it kind of alleviates that pressure. You're no longer pulled by different people. You're kind of like, it's actually all in one house, and it's up to them sometimes to kind of go, actually we think this should be the focus. It kind of just alleviates that pressure a bit. But we both have books to write before the third one. We'll get there. Plus, hopefully people think it's worth the wait.
Fingers crossed. So I'm just reading some...
Did you see the one that said, is that his wife who looks like his mum? I did ask you if I put makeup on before this, and we both said no, so,
That's great. Sometimes when we get deliverers to the house, people have thought I was G's kid.
No, they did not. They just ask you for ID. They don't think.
No, they said, "Is your mum home?" No, we've had that a few times. We've had it a few times. No, you had it, didn't you? Where I answered the door.
Waterstones, thing, because I would be saying something rude to you right now. Right, here we go.
Okay, Alice Grace, how did you know it would be a trilogy? We didn't. We actually planned one book firstly, right?
Being on a walk and us like planning it and being like, yeah, it'll be a trilogy, and the first book will end like this, and the second book will end like that, and the third book will end like that. Can you remember being down the road?
Yeah, but no.
Change it up.
Oh yeah, no, it was always going to be a trilogy. Yeah, but I remember now.
We went into Penguin, we pitched it as a trilogy. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. It was always a trilogy. Ignore me. She's right. I'm wrong.
You heard it here first, guys. Right, Thomas, we should probably let everyone get on with their...
Oh yeah, sorry, running late. I've been chatting away.
But this has been really nice. Thanks, guys. You've made us sit down and talk for 50 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for watching me and my mum have a chat.
It's so hard in lockdown. I don't see him anymore.
Right, guys. How do we do this? Do I just leave?
We can both end. But thank you, everyone, for coming and
right.
come back. This is this thing that does the kids. They love it. But thank you so much for coming along and joining in with our chat. Thomas, come on. The Evolution is out now. So there you go. Thomas? Oh, for God's sake. Right, thanks so much, guys. And Tom, I'm going to cut you off now. Thing is, I'd find this acceptable if it was just ours. I'm on Waterstones. I'm not even on my own.
Sorry, guys. Look, I haven't been out for 4 weeks.
Oh dear. Right, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoy The Evolution. It is out now. We shall speak to you soon.
Yes,
right.
Enjoy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.